Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Okay guys, we're going to be seeing a video today. This is titled Why Russia is Spending 25 billion US dollars to build Turkey's first nuclear plant. Okay, this really sounds tricky to me. Okay, we all know that Turkey is actually part of NATO, and having Russia to build their first nuclear plant. I'm trying to connect the dots here. All right, I'm really curious to see this video and see all the relationships surrounding it. All right, so if you're curious as much as I am, please subscribe, and if you find this video interesting, like, share, and comment on it. All right, so let's jump in.
This $25 billion nuclear power plant is Turkey's first, but to NATO, it's a potential security risk. That's because Russia is the one funding it, building it, and operating it for the next 60 to 80 years.
This is
Crazy.
at a time where obviously relations between NATO and Russia are really tense.
But for Turkey, the Okuyu nuclear power plant is a big step towards energy independence and economic development. Here's what this century-long partnership between Russia and Turkey means for the region and for the future of NATO. With multiple major pipelines carrying natural gas and oil running through Turkey, the nation leverages its geographical location and infrastructure to act as an energy trader in the region. But Turkey itself is also heavily reliant on imported energy, with over 70% of its supply coming from countries like Russia, Iran, and Azerbaijan.
By no means is Turkey unique in this respect, but that is not a desirable position to be in.
Turkey has long sought to diversify and stabilize its energy mix to rely less on its trade partners.
So for many decades, Turkey has wanted to build a nuclear power sector. And for many decades, Turkey tried.
The effort to build a nuclear power plant began in the 1950s.
But time and time again, the deals would fall through.
Several times, its own economic and political instability prevented any progress from taking shape. Then, in 2010, Turkey signed a deal with Russia. The two nations agreed to a financial model known as Build, Own, Operate. That means Russia's state nuclear agency, Rosatom, will essentially do everything at Okuyu.
They run it, they provide the people, the experts, and all the way to the end where they can even decommission it.
What Russia is doing in Akuyu is extremely unique for the industry, and it's also a first test of this model in many ways.
Construction on Okuyu officially began in 2018. Once the power plant is fully online, its 4 reactors will have an installed capacity of 4.8 gigawatts, which will generate about 10% of Turkey's electricity. In other words, nearly enough to power Istanbul. In a 15-year deal, Turkey will buy the energy at a fixed rate, helping to reduce the volume of Turkey's energy imports by about 7 billion cubic meters annually.
In the short term, it is a great deal for Turkey because they don't have to pay for it, they don't have to pay the upfront costs. But ultimately, however you slice and dice it, Russia is gaining a foothold into a NATO member, and Russia will have that for decades to come.
At the time Turkey and Russia signed the agreement, the West had good relations with Moscow until
Russia takes control of Crimea.
NATO member Turkey says it shot down a Russian warplane.
Since then, rising tensions between Moscow and NATO have sparked concern over Russia's ownership of Okuyu. Turkey, in NATO's southeastern flank, has been a crucial staging ground for operations, with key NATO facilities like Incirlik Air Base and Kurishik radar station. And militarily, it provides substantial manpower, with the second largest armed forces in the alliance. Critics are concerned that if tensions escalate even further, Russia's ownership of the plant could expand its influence in the region.
Turkey will be dependent on Russia with this nuclear power plant. That's a way for Russia to increase its influence in such a key member state of NATO.
Okuyu has a seaport, which has been used to transport equipment, but Turkish opposition has expressed fear that Russia could also use it as a military facility. Though Turkey's defense ministry said the facilities are prepared in line with principles of readiness planning. Additionally, critics say that Moscow could use the plant as a tool for political bargaining.
Russia would have this lever where it could stop fuel deliveries, it could stop maintenance, it could even turn off the plant.
The countries that have Soviet-era nuclear reactors. In 2022 and 2023, when the political relationship was not going very well, those home governments had a very hard time figuring out, if we no longer are able to buy nuclear fuel from Russia, who else can we turn to?
But the ownership model that has generated so much debate is also what made it an attractive offer to Turkey.
Russia was able to provide state-backed loans. Most companies
Okay, this is a very sensitive topic in this because the relationship between NATO and Russia is quite intense now. All right, I'm pretty sure that Turkey actually asked the Westerns for help, and they actually got turned down before they actually decided to like ask Russia for help. Because being a NATO member, I'm pretty sure Russians will not be Turkey's first choice because we all know that Turkey is a part of NATO. But I'm pretty sure that the Western people are going to be really angry for this relationship between Russia and Turkey because I mean, how are they going to explain this? Please let me know. Share your thoughts and opinion in the comment section. Like, this is really, really a twist. All right.
are not usually in that position. And also, it's very rare that one supplier is ready to build a power plant from the ground up.
Today, with dozens of facilities under contract, Russia is a leader in constructing and operating nuclear projects around the world. And in recent decades, Rosatom has exported more reactors than any other major provider. At Okuyu, it's building its flagship VVER reactors, originally developed in the Soviet Union.
So the knowledge that Turkish operators and experts will get from Russia, they can only get from Russia for that specific power plant. So that, from that point of view, this is another way of deepening the dependency. That's definitely a win for Russia.
But with Rosatom sinking around $25 billion into the project, experts say that Russia has a lot on the line too.
In the end, it is a financial asset for Russians as well. So in order to recoup their expenses, they need to operate it.
And recouping these costs, experts say, could take decades.
There are so many incentives for Turkey and Russia to maintain an operational political relationship. And this power plant is one of them.
In request for comments, NATO told the Wall Street Journal that Turkey is a staunch NATO ally, which contributes invaluably to its security. And a Kremlin spokesman said any statements asserting a relationship of dependence or a security risk to NATO are unfounded, and that this is purely a mutually beneficial partnership. Turkey declined to comment.
Turkey has had traditionally pretty good relations with both the West and Russia. So Turkey is trying to get benefits from both sides. And this project is a very interesting and important encapsulation of that.
Türkiye-Rusya arasındaki normalleşme sürecinin hızla devam edeceğine olan inancım tamdır.
The plant has faced delays. The geopolitical fallout after Russia's invasion of Ukraine disrupted Rosatom's supply chain. So when one key supplier withheld parts, it turned to China. Now the first reactor is scheduled to go online at the end of 2026. And Turkey says Okuyu will be completed by 2028.
President Erdogan has long sought to position the country as global power, and having a nuclear power plant, which not many countries have, is a symbol of that ambition.
This may just be the start. Turkey is in talks with several countries to build another nuclear power plant, and Turkey's energy minister has said that Russia is once again coming out ahead.
That is something that worries me much, because you cannot be dependent on one supplier.
But until Turkey can build a power plant on its own,
they are making an investment for generations to come. That is also a marker of political confidence, that that relationship can be maintained for a century to come.
Okay, this is more like generational investment. Okay, so the relationship between Russia and Turkey, what do you think about their relationship? Despite the fact that they asked for help from NATO and NATO turned them down, they asked for help from the West and they turned them down and they decided to face Russia to get that help. I know it's not easy building a nuclear plant from the ground. All right, so I think Turkey is going to be dependent on Russia for a very long time. Please share your thoughts or your opinion in the comment section. Okay, what do you think about this relationship, and what do you think um, is the effect of this relationship on NATO and the West? Please drop your comments. See you guys on my next one. Bye.